All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into the Goofy movie sequels. And we're looking at both a Goofy movie and then an extremely Goofy movie. And of course, we're going to be looking at the screenplays for these films. You want to know, right? How did these films connect? Not just the plot, but, like how did the characters change? How did the themes evolve over the course of the two films?
Yeah, it's really interesting how an extremely goofy movie kind of flips the dynamic that you see between the father and the son in the first film. So, like, in a Goofy movie, it's really focused on Max, right? He's a teenager, and he's just mortified by, like, how goofy his dad is. He wants to impress this girl, Roxanne. And, he just wants to be independent.
Oh, yeah, that scene at the photo center. Where Max is literally, like, trying to stop Goofy from dancing. It's so cringy, but it's also hilarious. It's just, like, perfect teenage angst.
Yeah, totally. He just wants to fit in and be cool, but, Goofy is always there, like, with, like, the best intentions, but he always seems to, like, undermine whatever Max is trying to do.
Oh, and that road trip. Where Goofy's insisting on following, like, that crazy map.
Oh, yeah, totally. That just shows, like, how in that first film, like, everything Goofy does, even though he means well, it always ends up, like, embarrassing Max and creating all these problems. But then when you get to an extremely Goofy movie, it's like, the tables have turned. Now Max is going off to college, and he seems, like, a lot more comfortable with his dad. But now it's Goofy who's, like, having trouble letting go.
Yeah, you're right. It's like they've switched places. Now you see Goofy, like, clinging to Max. He even enrolls in the same college as Max. And of course, that creates a whole new set of problems.
Oh, totally. And it's funny, right? Like how the sequel uses humor to explore this whole role reversal. Like all of Goofy's attempts to, like, fit into college life. He's struggling in his classes. He joins the X Games. It's just comedic gold.
Yeah, I love that scene where Goofy shows up at Max's dorm with, like, all of his camping gear. I mean, you can just see, like, how mortified Max is. But you can also see, like, there's a little bit of affection there, too.
Yeah, for sure. Like, even though Goofy is still, over the top, and a lot of what he does is misguided, I think, an extremely Goofy movie does suggest that, like, yeah, their relationship has changed. They're closer now, even though Max still gets embarrassed by his dad.
Yeah, you can see that right at the beginning of an extremely Goofy movie. When Max initiates that handshake tradition, there's just, like, a sense of, camaraderie that you didn't really see so much in the first film.
Exactly. It's like this small gesture, but it really says a lot about, how far their relationship has come. And it kind of sets the stage for Goofy's journey, right? He has to learn to let go, accept Max's independence.
So yeah, both films are about this father-son relationship, but in an extremely Goofy movie, it's more about Goofy and him needing to learn to let go. And of course, there's still a lot of humor there, exploring their relationship.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just, like, a repeat of the first film. It builds on what was established in a Goofy movie, but it takes the characters, takes the themes in some new and interesting directions.
And you see that too in how both films, like, use similar situations, right, to highlight how the characters are developing. Like, Max tries to impress Roxanne in both films. In the first one, he does it by, like, staging this concert. And then in the sequel, he tries to impress her by, like, pretending that he knows Powerline. So, in both cases, he's trying to get her attention. But his, like, motivations have changed, and the way he goes about it is different too.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting how an extremely Goofy movie, takes things from the first film, familiar situations, and it sort of, like, adds new layers of meaning.
Oh yeah, the perfect cast is, like, a great example of that. In a Goofy movie, it's just this fishing technique that Goofy's trying to teach Max. It's like a symbol of, their shared history. But Max rejects it, right? It shows how disconnected they are. But then in the sequel, the perfect cast becomes a symbol of, like, their reconciliation. And Goofy finally, like, supporting Max's dreams.
Yeah, totally. It takes on this whole new meaning, and it's really about, how their relationship has evolved. And I think the filmmakers do a great job of using these callbacks to really, like, deepen the emotional impact of the sequel. It's not just, like, fan service. It's really about connecting the two films thematically.
And we can't forget Open Road, right? I mean, that song is iconic. In a Goofy movie, it's, about Max wanting freedom, escape. But then in an extremely Goofy movie, it becomes more like an anthem.
Yeah.
About acceptance and, moving forward, but together. It really reflects how their dynamic has changed.
Yeah, that's a great observation. These recurring elements like the perfect cast and Open Road, they take on these new meanings in the sequel, and it really solidifies that connection to the original film. But at the same time, it's still charting new territory.
So it's clear, right? An extremely Goofy movie is more than just a rehash. It really explores how Goofy and Max's dynamic changes as Max, gets older. And Goofy has to deal with, being a parent, but in a different way.
Exactly. And that exploration, goes into these deeper themes like letting go, personal growth, finding your place. And that resonates with audiences in a more mature way, I think, than the first film.
And it still has that Goofy charm. And the humor?
Absolutely. It's a delicate balance, and the filmmakers pull it off really well. I think it just shows how strong the characters are.
Yeah.
And how well the filmmakers understood what made the first film work and how to make a sequel that, honors the original but also stands on its own.
So we've seen how Max and Goofy's relationship has changed and how an extremely goofy movie takes familiar elements and gives them new meaning. And I'm curious.
Like, how about the whole college setting in an extremely goofy movie? It really adds to that different feel that the sequel has, right? It's like another layer to that whole thing of Goofy and Max's relationship changing, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like college, right? It's all about freedom, discovering yourself. And I think by setting the sequel in college, the filmmakers are really smart,
Yeah.
Like they're emphasizing those themes of, letting go, finding out who you are.
Yeah, exactly. It forces both Goofy and Max to really confront those themes. Max is surrounded by all this new stuff, new people, new experiences. And Goofy is trying to keep up, but it's not his world anymore.
It's like Goofy wants to relive his youth.
Yay.
But he's doing it through Max. And I don't know, it's interesting because he wants to connect with his son, but at the same time, he's holding Max back.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? It's about parenting. Goofy wants to do the right thing and, maybe relive some of those glory days, but he's not going about it the right way. He's stuck in the past.
When he joins the X Games, I mean, it's hilarious, right? This middle-aged guy trying to keep up with all these young skaters and stuff. But there's also something kind of sad about it. He's trying so hard to fit in.
Yeah, and it's through those experiences, as crazy as they are, that Goofy starts to realize, okay, I need to let go. I need to find my own thing, something that's separate from Max. It's a journey for him, too,
And I think it's great how the film shows Goofy being vulnerable.
Yeah.
You see his insecurities, he's scared. And that makes it even better when he finally, figures things out. He learns, okay, it's okay to move on. Doesn't mean he loves Max any less.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important message for, everyone, no matter how old you are. Yeah, change can be scary, but it's also a chance to grow, to start something new.
You know what's interesting? Both films are about identity, but in different ways. In a Goofy movie, it's Max who's trying to figure out who he is. He wants to be cool. He doesn't want to be like his dad.
Yeah, and in an extremely goofy movie, it's Goofy's turn. He's an empty nester now. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
That's a great point. It's the sequel takes these themes from the first film.
Yeah.
But it looks at them from a whole new angle.
And it does it in a way that feels natural.
You see Goofy taking those classes, trying to find something he's passionate about. It's funny, but it's also kind of heartwarming.
It is. It's a reminder that, you can always learn and grow no matter how old you are. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Goofy movie films so great. Underneath all the silliness and the goofy stuff, there are these really insightful observations about life, about relationships, about growing up.
And the characters are so relatable.
They are, and the filmmakers use those characters to explore these themes in a way that's entertaining but also makes you think. And I think that's why people still love these films. Years later, they have something for everyone, whether you're a teenager who's trying to figure out who they are or a parent who's trying to figure out, how to let go.
And it's interesting how both films use different tones.
Oh, yeah.
Right, to show the different stages of Goofy and Max's relationship. A Goofy movie, it's very slapstick, lots of music. It's lighthearted and energetic, which, reflects Max.
Yeah, and an extremely goofy movie, it still has that goofy humor, but it's a little more, mature. It's more about the characters' feelings, and it's a little more thoughtful.
Yeah, the humor is still there, but it's more, subtle. You see Goofy trying to be young again,
Yeah.
but he has to let go. It's kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, exactly. The humor isn't just there for laughs. It's used to show how complicated things are. And the filmmakers do a great job of balancing that humor with, real emotion.
It's interesting, too, how both films show that it's not just about the father and son, right? Max's friendship with PJ is really important in both films. It gives Max someone to talk to, someone who understands him.
Right. PJ is like Max's sounding board. He gets what Max is going through, and their friendship is a nice contrast to, the craziness with Max and Goofy.
And in an extremely goofy movie, Goofy makes friends too, with the other students and teachers at the college.
Yeah, exactly. It shows that it's never too late to make connections.
So we've talked about how Goofy and Max's relationship changes, how the two films have different tones, the themes, how important other relationships are. What do you think about an extremely goofy movie as a sequel, like overall?
I think it's a great example of how a sequel can be more than just like a way to make money. It can have real character development, explore different sides of relationships, and even go deeper into themes than the original film.
I agree. It's a sequel that, respects the first film, but it also does its own thing.
Yeah, and it does it with humor, heart, and like a surprising amount of depth. It's a kind of film that stays with you, It makes you think.
Okay, so both of these films, right, they explore this like father-son relationship. Which one do you think like connects with audiences more, and why?
That's a tough one. I think they both show things that a lot of people can relate to, but I think maybe an extremely goofy movie, it might connect with more people because those themes, right, of letting go, finding your own way, dealing with change, that's something that everyone goes through, not just fathers and sons.
Yeah, I see what you mean. An extremely goofy movie, it's about those times in your life when everything's changing, like, leaving home, going to college, just figuring out who you are.
Exactly. And a goofy movie, it's great, don't get me wrong, it shows what it's like to be a teenager. But an extremely goofy movie, it's about like bigger things.
It's like you see Goofy struggling to let Max go, and then he realizes he has to let Max be independent. I think that's something that parents and kids, they both get that.
It is. It's powerful. It shows you that, relationships, they change. And sometimes you have to let go if you want to grow.
And an extremely goofy movie, it does that with humor. Like you see Goofy messing up. He's awkward, but he's trying.
He is, and it's funny, but it's also kind of sweet, The filmmakers, they found that perfect balance.
And we can't forget about the animation either.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, an extremely goofy movie, it takes that classic Disney style, but it does even more with it, especially those X Games scenes. It's beautiful to watch.
It really is, and the way they animate Goofy, like you can see everything he's feeling. It adds so much to the story.
So we started with Max wanting to be on his own in a Goofy movie. And then in the sequel, it's Goofy who has to learn to let go. We've talked about how both films use humor, how they connect to each other, how the animation makes them special. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think both of these films, they show us that, relationships, they're always changing. You have to work at them, you have to understand each other, and you have to be willing to change too. And sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is let them go.
I love that. They remind us that growing up, it's part of life, even if you make a few mistakes along the way. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Goofy movie sequels. Hopefully you see these films in a new light now, and you appreciate what they have to say. So get out there, embrace the open road, and remember, the perfect cast might just surprise you.